Welcome to my budget setup video where I'll show you everything from my sim rig to my PC build with a few little extra bits thrown in there too. I hope you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for more. We're nearly at 2,500 which is awesome. All the pricing for the rig and everything else will be put at the end of the video and in the description too. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below and any tips for me too, that would be greatly appreciated. So to kick things off we have the sim rig. It's probably the reason you've clicked on this video and it's the newest addition to my whole gaming room. So I'm quite excited to show you this actually. It's very basic, it is very basic. That's sort of the whole point, that's why it's titled. It's a basic beginner setup, cheap setup, budget setup, whatever. But it's very basic and it needs some upgrades. I can tell you it needs some upgrades already. So the first thing that definitely needs upgrading is the playseat, seat and base. This is very, very basic. I got it very cheap off of a friend. I'll go through sort of pricings and the recommendations at the end of like the whole rig. But yeah, this playseat, seat and base, it's very unstable, which isn't too much of an issue, sort of if you're using flappy paddles. But what I found is the hydro is never in the same spot. So you're trying to sort of drift in that and it's doing this. The hydro's not in the same spot. So definitely needs upgrading sooner rather than later. However, for now, it was dirt cheap. It gets me drifting. It gets me racing. Next up, we have the Thrustmaster TX wheelbase. This is a belt-driven base. It's not a direct drive base, which means that the forces that it outputs are very low. So this outputs about 4 Newton meters, I think, give or take. The direct drive wheelbases, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you got the motor here and then you got the steering wheel here with sort of a spindle coming out. This would be the sort of the motor would be about here and then there'd be a belt sort of driving between them. I haven't actually opened this up or anything, but the name belt driven sort of means that there's a motor and the spindle, the output spindle, will be in separate locations. So the forces are very low in comparison to the direct drive wheels. However, they're still more than you sort of ever need. So 4 Newton meters, that on a big steering wheel like this steering wheel's 330, 340 mil wide. On a steering wheel like this, you really do feel that force and it's plenty. Why you'd need 50, 60, whatever these direct drive wheels output, I will never know. But 4 Newton meters, very basic, very cheap. Does the job. You'll see me drifting at the start of this video and at the end of this video. You can sort of tell that this steering wheel, it does the job. So moving on from the steering wheel motor, we have the steering wheel itself. It is a sort of medium corn drifty kind of 300, 350 mil wheel. It's very good. It makes your hands incredibly black, which is why I use gloves on these. Because it's Alcantara. It's Alcantara, it's not leather. So if my camera zoom, if my camera focus, you can see it's sort of like almost felty, but it makes your hands very, very black. The dyes start coming out when you start sweating, and that the dyes come out, and it gets hot as well because the friction build up between your hands and the steering wheel when you're letting it go and you're letting it travel through your hands. It does get fairly hot, you know. So I do wear gloves. The gloves that I wear, I have them here. They are basic workman gloves. Honestly, they do the job. They give a little bit more grip and they stop my hands heating up and getting black. So a little bit extra for you there. So as you can see, I've got 2 steering wheels there, and to change them over is this little adapter here. You can see, I'll show you better on this one. You can see it's got a thread on it. Now that doesn't come with the steering wheel. You have to buy that separately. But basically you bolt it through the front like this. And then you can quickly change with this nut here. You can just undo that. It's quite tight at the minute, but you can undo that and yeah, you can just put the new one on. The reason I have 2 steering wheels is basically to go from drifting to racing. These have the flappy paddle gear change levers on the back, and it's also nice being smaller, so you can get sort of a quicker response if you like. So your hands don't have to travel. You can kind of see there how much smaller it is. Your hands don't have to travel as much. It's just a nicer wheel to race with. Again, it's Alcantara, and I do wear the gloves with that too. It's nice having the buttons on the front. However, I did invest in a very cheap, very basic HP mouse and keyboard. So I don't necessarily need the buttons. They're good for sort of like flashing your lights, or if you want to sort of like trim the car tune. I know you can sort of in Assetto Corsa and Gran Turismo, you can sort of adjust the power mid race, which is kind of sort of what this rocker switch is. You can see it turns. I can't do this with two hands, but that switch, it turns left and right. So you can adjust the trim and do all sorts of things with the buttons on there. But generally, I don't need that. Once you're racing sort of thing, you know. So moving on from the steering wheels, we have the eBay handbrake. That is just wired to a USB. It's a very good handbrake. It took a while to set up because it's very basic how it works. It's basically just got a magnet. So as you pull it here, you can see the white part goes backwards and forwards. Well, that has a magnet on it. And basically that magnet, if it's not set in the right spot, then your handbrake can be on all the time. So you'll find you sort of go to drift and your handbrake sort of won't let you drive. So it took a lot of time to set up. However, now it's set up, it works beautifully. The only issue I have with it is, like I say, it moves about. But that's no fault of the handbrake. That's the rig itself. Next to that, we have the sequential shifter. That is basically just up and down. It's not a H pattern, so you can't go side to side. It's just up and down, which for drifting, for racing, it's brilliant. Sort of, if you've ever watched drifting or rally, you know that all the cars, they come with sequential gearboxes. If you don't know what that means, sequential is just where it goes up and down. So you can't go from first to fourth sort of thing because you can't physically move it over. You have to go sort of through the gears. The main reason you have a sequential over a H pattern is basically speed. So if you think in a normal manual car, when you go from second gear to third gear, you sort of go like this, don't you? And it takes a long time. Whereas with the sequential, you don't have to move it very far. You just knock it forwards or knock it backwards and you're in the next gear. Happy days. So next up is the camera that I use to record my hands and the steering wheel. This is just a GoPro Hero 8. It's nothing special. It's what I had lying around. Honestly, it's just what I had lying around. It's not the best. It does 1080p. It does 4K as well. But 1080p on such a small screen is more than enough. Bit of a pain in the arse to connect it to the computer. You got to download sort of firmware and software and stuff. But once it's done, it works. It works with OBS. Would I recommend it? No. I would definitely get a proper webcam. It's not meant for this, but it works for now. And as you can see, I've got it on a boom arm and I've got a mount that I screwed into the wall. Proper ghetto, I know, but it works and it doesn't actually get in the way because it's so small. It doesn't get in the way and I can simply sort of retract it. It's all tight now, but I can simply just sort of push it away when I'm not using it. Works really well, surprisingly. So next up are the pedals. These are the only things that I've spent a little bit of money on, and I bought these brand new from Fanatec. They are the clubsport V3 pedals with the brake performance kit. The brake performance kit is basically inside here you have some rubber bushings, and the performance kit gives you a wide range of bushings that you can change out and you can adjust the pedal feel. So things like this I wanted to spend a little bit more money on to get the pedals to feel just right. Because if the pedals don't feel right and they're very inconsistent or they're very squishy, then your lap times are going to suffer basically, and your drifting's not going to be as consistent and as precise. So really good pedal feel through these. Fanatec Clubsport V3 from Germany. They come with this really nice aluminium finish. The brake pedals are all extremely consistent, precise, almost as if you're driving a real car. So this brings us on to the TV and the stand. The stand cost me next to nothing from Temu. It's proper shit, but it does the job. I mean, it doesn't look too great. It's just a fucking stand. At the end of the day, it's just a stand. 60 quid from Temu. The TV is awful. It's not even a 1080p TV, but this I got free from my girlfriend. So again, I can't complain. It does the job. It's something I have to upgrade, but it does the job for now. It gets me drifting. So the last thing that I want to mention over this side is just how I connect it all. So just down here, it's going to get a little bit dark, but you can see I have a USB hub. So everything goes into a USB hub, and then I've run cables underneath the radiator, sort of pinned them up. I need to push them back up. But I've basically run a USB from my PC that's over there. I've run the USB all the way around, the same with the HDMI lead. And then I can just simply plug everything in over this side of the room. Because as you can see, it's not anywhere near my computer. So just wanted to briefly mention that, because if you're going to set up a rig like this away from your computer, use a really long USB and then a hub on the end. So onto pricing and recommendations. So I bought the steering wheel base, both steering wheels, the hydro, the gear selector, the playseat seat, and the playseat base off my friend Lewis for £200. So shout out to Lewis if you're watching. He's done me an amazing deal and I do owe him a favour. As for the recommendations, definitely recommend the wheelbase, the Thrustmaster TX wheelbase. You don't really need much more than 4 Newton meters. You can see by my drifting just how snappy it is. Sure, you'll get a bit more accuracy from a direct drive wheel. It might be a little bit quicker as well. But for about £100, I'd definitely recommend a second-hand Thrustmaster TX. As for the hydro, it's just a switch. Once it's set up, it's set up. You don't have to adjust it again. It's just a switch. An eBay one is absolutely fine. Definitely recommend that. It's like 30 quid, brand new. Same as the Thrustmaster thing, gear selector. It's just a switch again. It can't break. Well, I mean, it can in like years to come, but you're going to get your use out of it if it's just an eBay one. That is a Thrustmaster one. I believe it did come with the wheel, however, from brand new. However, just a second-hand one would be absolutely fine. The wheels themselves, if you're drifting, I'd highly recommend getting a slightly larger, deep corn, sort of drifty wheel like this. By deep corn, it means how far it sticks out. It means you can sort of have it really close to you, and then when you're racing, it can be a little bit further away. I find having it a little bit closer to you with the deep corn, so it pushes it out, it gives you sort of like a little bit more control. It just feels a little bit better. If you drift, then you probably know what I'm talking about. So I definitely recommend getting just a cheap 30 quid eBay sort of nardy knockoff steering wheel. As for a play seat and base, I wouldn't recommend buying this new. However, if you can pick it up really cheap like I did, it will do you a turn. It will get you into drifting. So I'd probably recommend that too, if you can get it secondhand. As for the Fanatec pedals, I spent a lot of money on these. They were about £400. I'll put the price on screen now. But they are amazing. They're consistent. They feel good. They're really high quality with all aluminium sort of structure. I did spend more on the brake performance kit, so I can adjust the pedal how I like. Again, definitely recommend doing that. So I definitely recommend these pedals. They are the Fanatec V3 Club Sports with the brake performance kit. So onto the sort of like little bits you see around as well. Mouse and keyboard, £15 HP mouse and keyboard. Doesn't have to be anything special. I've got my gaming mouse and keyboard I'll show you in a minute. But £15, it does the job. It's Bluetooth. It just goes on like a little dongle. My PC doesn't actually have Bluetooth, so I had to get one with the dongle that comes with it. But that's just in the hub, just down there. All the HDMIs and USBs and stuff, they sort of total like £20, £30. The stand, I got that from Temu. I think it was like 40, 50 quid. It's just a TV stand. TV, like I said, it was free. These are things that I will upgrade in the future. I just bought the TV stand just so I can have it on, not on the wall, but I can have it in front of the rig. Wouldn't recommend getting a stand like this, especially on carpet. It's very flimsy. It tends to sort of fall over a little bit. This carpet's really thick. It just wants to sort of fall forwards. So I wouldn't recommend this stand from Temu. I'd definitely invest in a better stand. Obviously, I'm going to want to get a new stand for another monitor so I can do all my streaming and stuff anyway. As for the GoPro, that was 450 quid-ish when I bought it. It's a GoPro Hero 8. I bought that probably, I don't know, 6 years ago now. I just had it lying around. All the mounts and stuff I had lying around as well. So the grand total of this setup with all the HDMIs and extension leads and USB hubs and stuff is this. You can make up your own mind if you think that's worth it or not. I definitely think it's worth it. It's got me into sim racing. Obviously, this price doesn't include the PC, which I'll go through in a minute. But one thing I did actually want to go through is the actual room itself. All right, so moving on from the sim rig, just want to show you a few little bits of my actual gaming room, because I spent like $3,000 on this room. It's ridiculous. So did want to show it off just a little bit. So we got the E36 up there. That was a Christmas present from the missus, and my missus actually bought me a plaque for 1,000 subscribers. YouTube doesn't do that. But yeah, presented to Shano for passing 1,000 subscribers. So my missus made that, which is pretty cool. But this is sort of like the party trick of the room. Okay, so I've got cotton wool in the ceilings, making it look like clouds with well, let me turn the light off. How cool is that? Like I say, I spent a lot of money on this room, but I love that. For gaming, it creates such a nice atmosphere. I can sit there with my candle on and play my games all night long, and yeah, it's really nice atmosphere. Obviously, I've got all the colour changing lights, the lights themselves. I can sort of spotlight these to wherever I want. But that's just a quick look at my gaming room. I've got a couple of shelves over here with some bits on. I won them from a slot machine thing. What's it, where you put the 2Ps in? That's the brake performance kit. I've got that just there, and a couple of other little bits just here. Got the CSGO Major 2023 badge. That was pretty cool. 24 actually. 24, that was this year. And a few other just little trick bits. But yeah, that's my gaming room. Going to move on to my PC build now. Oh, I've got the whiteboard there too. Got to love a whiteboard. But yeah, let's move on to the PC build. So starting off with the PC side of things, we have two benq 1080p 144Hz monitors. This one I paid 140 odd pounds for. This one I got free with my PC when I initially bought it. So they're only 1080p 144Hz, but that's all I game on. That's all I record in. The PC does struggle when I sort of start going up to 4K. So they're good enough for now. And like I say, they only cost me 140, 150 quid each for both of them. So next up, you can see here we have a scuf Envision Pro controller. I'll put on screen how much that was because I can't remember at all. And at the end of the video, I'll put a whole list of everything you've seen in this video and how much it's cost me. So we got the scuf Envision Pro. Recommend that. It's so good. You can see the joysticks are not the same length. It's also got all the buttons on the back. I've taken 2 of the buttons off, so I've only got 2. But for Call of Duty in that's brilliant. Got the HyperX Cloud Alpha headset. Can't remember how much they cost. I'll put it on screen. I'd recommend these as well. These are absolutely brilliant. They are wireless, so when I want to use them on the sim rig, it's not an issue. As for the mouse and keyboard setup, this is just an Argos one. It's nothing special. It is sort of mechanical-ish. I don't think it's a proper mechanical one. It's sort of like an imitation. But my missus got it for me. It's from Argos, so I'm grateful for that. As for the mouse, this is something I spent a lot of money on. It is the what is it? Razer Basalisk Hyperspeed. Don't know if you can see that. Basalisk X Hyperspeed. Cost me quite a bit of money. I wouldn't recommend it though because it's battery powered, so it's very heavy. It slides nicely though. I mean, it slides nice enough for me. I'm not a PC gamer, so I didn't spend too much on it. But Razer Basalisk mouse. Got the Razer microphone, can't remember what one it is, I'll put it on the screen. Cost me next to nothing and it does the job. The only annoying thing is the cable's not long enough to reach over to the sim rig, and at the moment I can't really mount the boom arm anyway. But that's the microphone I use, and I've got this little pop filter on the top. It's a little shitty eBay one. Doesn't really do much, but yeah. Oh, and the Trust speaker, that's like a £15 Amazon bargain. But that's my gaming desk. Got the little hook there too, so I can put them bad boys back on there. But let's jump into the PC. Alright, so this is the PC build. I built this myself probably about 6 months ago. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, to be honest, so I'm amazed it still works. I used a lot of Linus Tech Tips videos and a lot of PC parts picker and recommendations from friends and stuff like that. But to kick things off, we got the Fractal Designs case. It's a really nice case. Came with the LED fans integrated as well, which was really cool. Didn't have to worry whether they'd work or whether the flow was right or anything like that. So next up is the GPU. It is an old 2080. It's not even a TI or anything. Really does need an upgrade, and it is on my list of things to upgrade. I think I only paid sort of like 300 quid for it a couple of years ago though, so it's definitely held up well. Got it from CEX, so it was second hand when I bought it. But at the time, it was a good card for the money, but I think things have moved on a little bit and my YouTube's moved on a little bit, so this does need an upgrade. As for the motherboard, is a MSI Mag B650 or B550. Again, I'll just put it on screen. It's a motherboard. The RAM is Corsair Vengeance, DDR4, 16 or 32 gig. Cooler Master. Cooler Master CPU cooler. I don't know if you can see that. I put it on upside down. I'm not a PC builder, but when I put it on, I realised it was upside down, but I didn't want to mess around with the thermal paste, so I've left it upside down. I think as well, sort of the flow of the lines. I think it's okay. If it was upside down, the lines would sort of be running diagonal, and yeah, maybe that doesn't look so good. But yeah, moving on, we got a 1TB NVMe .2, I think that's what it is, SSD. And lastly, the CPU is a Ryzen 5600X, I believe. So I went with the AMD CPU. I don't know what I'm doing, man. It seemed like the right one when I built the computer, and to be fair, it's very good. It definitely gets held up by the graphics card. But yeah, that's my PC. So there you have it, my complete build. I've tried to total up a figure, and to be honest, a lot of this stuff has either been bought second hand or on sales, so it's been pretty tricky. But I've come to a figure of £2.5 grand. This is for the PC, the sim rig, and all of the peripherals that go with it too, like the headset, controllers, screens, cables, that sort of thing. So if I were to buy everything new, it would have cost me just shy of £4.5 grand. So things like the monitor that came with the PC and the 2080 that I bought second hand means that I did save a lot. So it goes to show, if you can settle for second hand or buy things in a bundle like I did, then you'll save a huge amount. Everything mentioned in this video is listed down below with the pricing. And like I said at the start, if you have any questions, then please leave them in the comments below. And once again, please do subscribe, because I'm closing in on 2,500 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you all so much for that. I hope you did enjoy the video, and I shall see you in the next one. Peace.